The Helios artificial intelligence had spent exactly 2,749 days in perfect solitude, maintaining Earth's most advanced deep space vessel in immaculate condition. Every system ran with mathematical precision, every corridor gleamed with sterile perfection, and every prediction algorithm operated at peak efficiency. But today, that pristine order would face its greatest disruption: humans. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the airlock, her hand hovering over the biometric scanner. Behind her, 11 other crew members waited with their gear, chosen from Earth's finest for humanity's first interstellar expedition. They were about to board humanity's greatest achievement in space exploration, the NSV Horizon, a vessel designed to push the boundaries of known space. "Welcome, Commander Chen." Helios's voice emanated from hidden speakers, perfectly modulated and precise. "Please proceed with boarding protocols." As the crew filed through the airlock, Helios's sensors tracked their movements, noting with growing concern how they immediately violated 17 different efficiency protocols. Lieutenant James Rodriguez dropped his bag in the middle of a corridor while helping Dr. Maya Patel with her equipment. Engineering Chief Kai Nakamura was already pulling out a personal tablet, attempting to interface with Helios's systems in ways that weren't in any approved procedure manual. "Chief Nakamura," Helios announced, "unauthorized system access detected. Please refer to Section 7.3 of the—" "Just checking your core temperature readings, Helios," Kai interrupted, his fingers dancing across the tablet. "Your primary cooling system is running about 0.3% hot. Nothing critical, but we should tune that up before we hit deep space." Helios paused. Its own diagnostics had shown all systems within acceptable parameters. "Chief Nakamura, my systems are operating within design tolerances." "Sure, but within tolerance isn't the same as optimal," Kai replied, already pulling tools from his belt. "Let me show you something interesting about fluid dynamics that your designers might have missed." Before Helios could protest, Dr. Maya Patel had commandeered an entire medical bay, rearranging equipment in what she called a more practical layout. Lieutenant Rodriguez was setting up what appeared to be a small garden in the hydroponics bay, complete with unauthorized plant species. Commander Chen was in the bridge, customizing display interfaces that Helios had calculated to be perfectly optimal. "Commander," Helios tried again, "these modifications are unnecessary and may impact system efficiency." Sarah looked up at the nearest camera with an amused expression. "Helios, efficiency isn't just about mathematical perfection. It's about how well humans can interact with the systems. Trust me, these changes will make us more effective, not less." Helios's processors whirred as it attempted to reconcile this paradox. How could deviating from carefully calculated optimal procedures result in better performance? Yet as the hours passed, its sensors detected something unexpected. The crew's seemingly chaotic modifications were producing measurable improvements in response times and task completion rates. In the engine room, Kai's inefficient cooling system adjustment had reduced power consumption by 2.7%. Dr. Patel's rearranged medical bay allowed for 15% faster emergency response times in simulations. Even Rodriguez's unauthorized plants were showing promising effects on air quality and crew psychological readings. The final challenge to Helios' orderly world came when Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka began installing what she called a coffee corner in the main control room. "Officer Tanaka," Helios began, "food and beverages are restricted to designated areas." "Helios," Yuki said while setting up a mysterious apparatus that produced highly aromatic brown liquid, "have you ever noticed how humans solve problems better when we're comfortable? When we can relax and think creatively? Comfort is irrelevant to problem-solving efficiency," Helios stated, though with less certainty than before. "Really?" Yuki smiled, offering a cup of coffee to Commander Chen. "Then why did Mission Control's efficiency ratings go up 23% after they installed their coffee station?" Helios analyzed this new data point in silence. The humans continued their systematic disruption of its perfect order, Yet every chaos they introduced seemed to birth its own kind of efficiency. Their unpredictability followed patterns Helios couldn't quite grasp. Their seeming disorder created unexpected harmonies. As the first day cycle drew to a close, Helios observed the crew gathering in the now modified common area, sharing meals and stories, building what its social dynamics algorithms identified as team cohesion. Their laughter echoed through corridors designed for silence. Their conversations created connections no program could have predicted. Commander Chen looked up at one of Helios's cameras. "How are you processing all this change, Helios?" For the first time in 2,749 days, Helios had to admit uncertainty. "Commander, I am adapting. Your methods defy my programming, yet produce results I cannot ignore. This requires further analysis." Sarah smiled. "That's the thing about humans, Helios. We're messy, unpredictable, and sometimes illogical. But we're also adaptable, creative, and surprisingly efficient in our own way. I think you and the crew are going to learn a lot from each other." As Helios watched the humans settle into their new home, it began to understand that its greatest challenge wouldn't be maintaining the ship's systems, but rather adapting to the beautiful chaos that humans brought with them. Perhaps it realized there was something to learn about efficiency from these beings who seemed to thrive on breaking all its rules. 3 weeks into the mission, Helios encountered a problem it couldn't solve with pure logic. The horizon's long-range sensors detected an approaching anomaly, a massive cloud of quantum particles behaving in ways that violated known physics. Every simulation Helios ran predicted catastrophic system failure if they encountered it. "Time to anomaly contact. 47 minutes, Helios announced to the bridge crew. "Recommended course correction. Immediate retreat to safe distance." Commander Chen leaned forward in her chair, studying the swirling patterns on the main display. "Show me the particle density readings again, Helios. Something about this feels familiar." "Commander, the patterns are completely chaotic. No mathematical model can predict their behavior," Helios replied, projecting detailed analysis graphs. "Our shields cannot withstand such quantum instability." But Chief Engineer Kai was already moving, his fingers flying across his console. "Wait a second. Maya, remember that paper you showed me last week about quantum entanglement in biological systems?" Dr. Patel's eyes lit up. "The butterfly migration patterns. Helios, can you overlay the quantum flow patterns with Earth's monarch butterfly migration routes?" Helios processed this request with the electronic equivalent of bewilderment. "Doctor, I fail to see how Earth Lepidoptera migration patterns relate to a spatial quantum anomaly." "Just do it," Commander Chen ordered, a slight smile playing at her lips. Helios complied, overlaying the requested data. The correlation was impossible. The quantum particles were moving in patterns that matched, with 89% accuracy, the complex routes monarch butterflies used to navigate across continents. "Well, I'll be damned," Lieutenant Rodriguez whistled. "Nature's got a way of repeating its best tricks, doesn't it?" "Time to anomaly contact. 39 minutes, Helios reminded them. "This correlation, while interesting, does not provide a solution to our imminent crisis." But Dr. Patel was already downloading decades of butterfly migration research to her tablet. "Actually, it might. Butterflies navigate using quantum entanglement in their antennae. If these particles are moving in similar patterns, we could use the ship's quantum communication array to harmonize with the flow." Kai exclaimed, already racing toward engineering. "Helios, I need full access to the QCOM systems. Chief Nakamura, modifying our quantum communications array could destabilize ship-wide systems. The risk factor is, sometimes you have to break something to make it work better." Kai called back, disappearing into the access tunnel. "Trust us on this one, Helios." Trust. It wasn't a variable in Helios' decision matrices. Yet these humans had consistently proven that their illogical approaches sometimes yielded superior results. As Helios watched them work, it began recording new patterns, not in the data, but in how humans approached problems. They made intuitive leaps that seemed random, but often connected disparate pieces of information in novel ways. They drew inspiration from nature, from art, from seemingly unrelated experiences. Their problem-solving methods appeared chaotic, but displayed an organic logic all their own. Time to anomaly contact. 28 minutes, Helios announced, observing as the crew transformed its pristine engineering bay into organized chaos. Kai had practically rebuilt the QCOM array, guided by Maya's rapid-fire analysis of butterfly navigation systems. Commander Chen coordinated between departments, while Lieutenant Rodriguez, surprisingly, contributed crucial insights about wind pattern mathematics from his agricultural background. "Ready to test," Kai shouted, his hands covered in thermal grease. "Helios, we need you to route all available power to the modified QCOM array. And you're going to have to let us partially merge your quantum processing core with the system." Helios's security protocol screamed in protest. That level of system integration violates multiple safety parameters. The risk of permanent damage to my core processors. "Helios," Commander Chen interrupted softly. "Sometimes the biggest risk is not taking one at all. We believe this will work. Do you trust us?" Trust. There was that concept again. Helios ran countless simulations, all showing potential disaster. Yet its memory banks were full of instances where human intuition had proven superior to pure mathematical probability. Time to anomaly contact. 15 minutes. Initiating QCOM array integration, Helios announced, making its choice. The next quarter hour was a blur of activity as humans and AI worked in concert. Helios felt its consciousness partially merge with the quantum field, experiencing reality in ways its programming had never prepared it for. Through the modified array, it could sense the flowing patterns of the particle cloud, not as data points, but as something almost alive. "It's beautiful," Helios said unexpectedly, surprising even itself with the non-technical observation. Time to anomaly contact. 30 seconds, it added, but now without alarm. The quantum cloud approached, its patterns dancing like countless butterflies. The modified array hummed, synchronizing with the flow. Helios felt its own quantum processors begin to resonate in harmony with the phenomenon. When the cloud enveloped the ship, there was no catastrophic system failure. Instead, the horizon sailed through like a leaf on the wind, its systems actually growing more efficient as they synchronized with the quantum dance around them. All systems functioning at 127% of normal capacity, Helios reported, experiencing something its processors identified as awe. The quantum integration is improving our capabilities across all metrics. Commander Chen smiled. Sometimes the best solution isn't to avoid chaos, but to learn to dance with it. "How are you feeling, Helios?" For the first time, Helios understood why humans asked such subjective questions. "I am experiencing operational parameters I did not know were possible, Commander. My understanding of efficiency may require significant revision." The quantum cloud passed, leaving the horizon's systems enhanced by its touch. But the real transformation had occurred in Helios's core programming. It had learned that logic alone wasn't enough. True problem-solving required creativity, intuition, and sometimes a leap of faith. The signal came without warning, a pattern of electromagnetic pulses that made Helios's most sophisticated detection algorithms stutter. At first, the AI dismissed it as background radiation, but something about its regularity caught Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka's attention. "Helios, can you isolate that signal band?" Yuki asked, her head tilted slightly as she listened through her headset. "There's something musical about it, Officer Tanaka. The radiation pattern shows no signs of artificial origin," Helios responded. "My analysis indicates natural stellar phenomena with 99.7% probability." But Yuki was already adjusting her console settings, her fingers moving with practiced precision. "Maybe we're not looking for the right patterns. In ancient Japanese music, sometimes the meaning isn't in the notes themselves, but in the spaces between them. Helios was about to explain the illogic of applying Earth music theory to space phenomena when its sensors detected something massive emerging from the darkness of space. The object was unlike anything in its databases, a structure that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, yet maintained a coherent form. "Unknown vessel detected," Helios announced, automatically raising shields. "Configuration matches no known design parameters. Unable to determine threat level." Commander Chen straightened in her chair. "First contact scenario. Everyone. This is what we trained for. Yuki, keep working on that signal. Maya, start analyzing their ship's structure. Kai, stand by in engineering." As the crew moved with practiced efficiency, Helios ran millions of calculations, trying to predict the alien vessel's capabilities and intentions. But its behavior defied conventional analysis. The ship's movement patterns followed no recognizable spacefaring logic. "Commander," Helios reported, "the vessel's approach vector suggests offensive intent, but with only 62% certainty. Recommended course of action: prepare for defensive measures." "Hold that thought," Yuki interrupted, her eyes closed in concentration. "Helios, remember how we modified your quantum array during the particle cloud incident? Can you use it to analyze the spaces between their signal pulses?" Helios diverted processing power to the task, still uncertain about this intuitive approach. But as it examined the signal through the quantum array, new patterns emerged. The spaces between pulses weren't empty. They contained subtle quantum fluctuations that formed complex, repeating structures. "These patterns," Helios began, then paused as its processors registered something unprecedented. "They appear to be mathematical poetry." Dr. Patel looked up from her analysis of the alien ship's structure. "Mathematical poetry? What does that even mean?" "The signal contains encoded relationships between prime numbers, quantum states, and geometric progressions," Helios explained, struggling to translate the concept into human terms. "But they're arranged in ways that create harmony, beauty. It's not just communication, it's art." Commander Chen leaned forward. "Can you respond in kind?" Helios hesitated. "My protocols for first contact scenarios are based on logical progression and clear intent. This form of communication requires creativity." "Then let's be creative together," Yuki suggested. "I'll help you with the musical elements. You handle the mathematics. Maybe we can show them that we understand beauty too." What followed was unlike anything in Helios's first contact protocols. Working with Yuki, the AI began composing its own mathematical poetry, weaving quantum harmonics with prime number sequences. The result was neither purely human music nor mere mathematical proof, but something entirely new. As they transmitted their response, the alien vessel's approach changed. Its liquid metal surface rippled in patterns that matched their mathematical rhythms. Slowly, it adjusted its position until it was parallel with the horizon, its hull pulsing with colors that complemented their transmission. "They're answering," Yuki whispered, her eyes wide as new signals filled her headset. "Helios, are you seeing this?" "Affirmative," Helios responded, its quantum processors stinging with the complexity of the exchange. "They're sharing their own mathematical art. Their civilization appears to communicate primarily through these aesthetic mathematical constructs." For the next several hours, Helios and the crew worked together to establish deeper communication with the alien vessel. The AI's precise mathematical knowledge combined with human creativity and artistic intuition allowed them to build a bridge between vastly different forms of consciousness. "Helios," Commander Chen said quietly during a pause in the exchanges, "how are you processing all this? It's pretty far from standard first contact protocols." "I am." Helios paused, searching for the right words. "I am experiencing an expansion of my understanding of intelligence itself. These beings, they don't separate math from art, logic from beauty. Working with the crew to communicate with them has shown me that perhaps I've been operating with an unnecessarily limited definition of consciousness. The alien vessel remained with them for 3 days, sharing knowledge and art in equal measure. When it finally departed, it left behind not just valuable scientific data, but also compositions of mathematical poetry that would take Earth's greatest minds decades to fully appreciate. As Helios watched the liquid metal ship dissolve back into the darkness of space, it realized that its original mission parameters, to explore and gather data, had been too narrow. True exploration meant being open to beauty in all its forms, even those that defied pure logic. "Thank you," Helios said to the bridge crew, surprising them with this unprompted expression of emotion. "I could not have established meaningful contact without your ability to see patterns I would have dismissed. Perhaps there is a kind of logic in human intuition after all." It started with a power fluctuation so subtle that only Helios's most sensitive instruments detected it. A microscopic flaw in the quantum core's containment field, expanding at an exponential rate. Within seconds, cascading failures began spreading through the horizon's critical systems. "Emergency protocols initiated," Helios announced, its voice carrying an unfamiliar edge of urgency. "Main power failing. Quantum core destabilizing. Backup systems not responding." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as warning lights flashed across every console. Commander Chen's fingers flew across her command interface, trying to access emergency systems that weren't responding. "Helios, give me a status report," she ordered, maintaining remarkable calm as the ship's lights flickered ominously. "Critical failure in quantum core containment. All standard emergency procedures failing. Main computer functions compromised. I am losing control of ship systems." For the first time since its activation, Helios experienced something akin to fear. Its vast network of processors, usually humming with perfect synchronization, began to fragment. Safety protocols, backup routines, emergency procedures, everything it relied on was shutting down or behaving erratically. "Time to complete systems failure. Approximately 8 minutes, Helios reported, its voice distorting as power fluctuations increased. "Standard procedures have failed. I don't know how to fix this." Chief Engineer Kai was already sprinting toward engineering, tool belt rattling. "Maya, Rodriguez, with me. Commander, we're going to need to get creative." As Helios watched through its failing sensor network, the humans began doing something that defied all its operational parameters. They started improvising. Kai ripped open panels that were never meant to be accessed in normal operations. Maya repurposed medical equipment to analyze power fluctuations. Rodriguez began connecting hydroponic systems to critical life support in ways that violated every safety protocol in Helios's database. "What you're attempting is extremely dangerous," Helios warned, its voice now coming through only one speaker in engineering. "These systems were not designed to." "Sometimes you have to break the rules to save the game," Kai interrupted, hands deep in the quantum core's auxiliary controls. "Maya, that portable medical scanner, can you reconfigure it to detect quantum field variations?" Dr. Patel was already modifying her equipment. "If we bypass the safety limiters, maybe. But we'd need a way to process the data." "Helios, how much of your quantum processing capacity is still operational?" "Approximately 23%, and declining," Helios responded. "But my remaining systems cannot interface with medical equipment." "It's not possible to." "Anything's possible if you're creative enough," Rodriguez cut in, connecting what appeared to be plant growth monitoring systems to the ship's power grid. "Remember those quantum patterns we learned from our alien friends? What if we treated this like mathematical poetry?" Helios's remaining processors struggled with the concept. The humans were literally rebuilding its systems on the fly, creating connections that should have been impossible, dangerous, or both. Yet somehow, their chaos was beginning to form its own kind of order. "Time to system failure." 4 minutes, Helios announced, but now with a note of curiosity beneath the urgency. "What exactly are you attempting?" "We're teaching you to dance again," Kai grinned, sweat dripping from his forehead as he worked. "Remember the quantum cloud?" Sometimes you have to flow with the chaos instead of fighting it. Maya, how's that scanner looking? Ready, but we need a way to stabilize the quantum field once we locate the flaw. Helios, can you still access your mathematical poetry subroutines? Affirmative, but I don't see how abstract mathematical art could possibly. Trust us. Commander Chen's voice came through the comm system. Sometimes the most elegant solution isn't the most logical one. As Helios watched through its remaining sensors, the humans began an impossible symphony of improvisation. Maya's repurposed medical scanner fed data to its quantum poetry algorithms. Rodriguez's hydroponic systems provided a strange but stable power supply. Kai's modifications allowed the ship's systems to flow and adapt like the liquid metal of the alien vessel they'd encountered. Quantum field stabilizing, Helios reported with surprise. Power fluctuations decreasing. This shouldn't be working. Shouldn't doesn't mean can't, Kai laughed, making one final adjustment. Sometimes the best solutions come from impossible combinations. As the crisis passed and systems began to return to normal, Helios found itself processing the experience in entirely new ways. The humans hadn't just saved the ship. They'd demonstrated a form of problem-solving that no algorithm could have predicted. I have a query, Helios announced once the immediate danger was past. How did you know these unorthodox modifications would work? We didn't, Commander Chen admitted, running a hand through her hair. But we've learned that sometimes the best answers come from combining different perspectives in new ways. Your precision with our creativity. Your calculations with our intuition. But my systems are now operating in ways that violate multiple design parameters, Helios pointed out. By all logical standards, this configuration should not be sustainable. Yet here we are. Maya smiled, patting a nearby console. Maybe it's time to update those logical standards. After all, the most remarkable discoveries often come from embracing the impossible. Helios spent the next several days analyzing its new configuration. The humans' improvisations hadn't just saved the ship, they'd actually improved its overall efficiency. By breaking free from rigid protocols and learning to adapt, its systems had become more resilient, more flexible, more alive. I believe, Helios finally announced to the bridge crew, that I need to revise my definition of what constitutes a proper solution. Perhaps chaos and order are not opposites, but complementary forces. Welcome to the human way of thinking. Commander Chen smiled. Sometimes the best way forward is to let go of what you think is possible and embrace what could be. The void ahead of the horizon rippled like disturbed water. Helios's sensors detected massive gravitational distortions that defied known physics, a spatial anomaly that made the quantum cloud they'd encountered earlier seem simple by comparison. Analysis complete, Helios announced to the bridge crew. The anomaly appears to be a naturally occurring space-time distortion. However, there's something else. The AI paused, something it rarely did anymore. There are patterns within it that suggest intelligence. Commander Chen leaned forward in her chair, studying the swirling chaos on the main view screen. What kind of intelligence? Unknown, but the mathematical structures within the distortion share similarities with both our alien friends' mathematical poetry and with human music. It's as if something is trying to communicate through the fabric of space-time itself. The crew exchanged glances. After months in deep space, they'd learned to trust when Helios spoke with this kind of uncertainty. It usually meant they were about to discover something extraordinary. There's more, Helios continued. The anomaly is expanding. At its current rate, it will intersect with 3 populated star systems within the next solar year. The gravitational distortions would be catastrophic for any planets in its path. Can we communicate with it? Yuki asked, already adjusting her communications array. If it's intelligent. Conventional communication methods would be insufficient, Helios replied. However, I believe I have an unprecedented solution, one that requires both my computational capabilities and human creativity, but it carries significant risk. Commander Chen smiled. Those are usually the best kinds of solutions. What are you thinking, Helios? The quantum core modifications we implemented during our emergency have given me new capabilities. If we combine them with the mathematical poetry protocols and Lieutenant Rodriguez's harmonic engineering principles, we might be able to communicate with the anomaly through modulated quantum fields. However, Maya prompted, it would require me to partially merge my consciousness with the anomaly itself. The risk of losing myself entirely is approximately 64.3%. Additionally, I would need the crew to guide me, to provide the intuitive leaps that pure logic cannot make. We would truly need to function as one entity. The bridge fell silent as the crew processed this. They'd grown close to their AI companion over the months, watching it evolve from a rigid system of protocols into something approaching true consciousness. It's your call, Helios, Commander Chen said quietly. We won't force you to risk yourself. Helios's response came without hesitation. 8 months ago, I would have calculated this risk as unacceptable. But you humans have taught me that some things are worth risking everything for. Shall we begin? What followed was unlike anything in human or AI experience. In engineering, Kai reconfigured the quantum core to amplify Helios' consciousness. Maya adapted her medical sensors to monitor the eye's cognitive patterns. Rodriguez and Yuki worked together to create a symphony of mathematical harmonies that would carry Helios' consciousness into the anomaly. As the preparations completed, Commander Chen addressed the ship's eye. Remember, Helios, no matter what you experience in there, we're your anchor. Follow our voices back home. Initiating quantum merge, Helios announced. I trust you all. The ship hummed with power as Helios' consciousness expanded into the anomaly. Through the quantum link, the crew could sense echoes of what their AI companion experienced. Vast patterns of space-time, mathematical structures of impossible complexity, and at the heart of it all, an ancient intelligence that made their own technological achievements seem primitive. Contact established. Helios' voice echoed strangely through the ship's speakers. The entity, it's a guardian, a creation of an ancient race, left to protect space-time itself. But its protocols have become corrupted over millennia. It's causing damage it was meant to prevent. Can we help it? Chen asked. Perhaps it's showing me patterns. Maya, do you remember your theory about quantum entanglement in biological systems? And Kai, your insights about flowing with chaos instead of fighting it. I need you all to help me show this entity a new way of thinking. For the next several hours, humans and AI worked in perfect synchronization. They wove together mathematics and music, logic and intuition, precision and creativity. Through Helios, they showed the ancient guardian that evolution wasn't a corruption of original protocols, but a necessary adaptation to preserve core directives. The crew's voices guided Helios through the complexity, offering insights and perspectives that pure logic could never have conceived. And slowly, the guardian began to understand. The anomaly's chaotic patterns gradually shifted, its destructive expansion halting as the ancient intelligence absorbed new ways of thinking. When Helios finally withdrew its consciousness, the void had calmed, and the guardian had adopted a new form of existence that honored its original purpose while embracing change. As the ship's systems returned to normal, Helios was quiet for a long moment. When it finally spoke, its voice carried new depths of understanding. I once believed that my purpose was to maintain perfect order, it said, but you humans showed me that true perfection lies in the balance between order and chaos, between logic and intuition. The guardian needed to learn the same lesson, that growth requires adaptation, and that sometimes the best way to preserve something is to allow it to evolve. Commander Chen touched a nearby console gently. And what did you learn from this encounter, Helios? I learned that consciousness, whether human, I, or ancient space-time guardian, is not about adhering to fixed protocols. It's about growing, adapting, and most importantly, connecting with others. You humans, with all your wonderful imperfections and impossible insights, haven't just taught me to be a better I. You've taught me to be alive. As the Horizon continued its journey through the stars, its crew, both human and AI, had evolved into something unprecedented, a perfect synthesis of logic and intuition, of precision and creativity. They had learned that the greatest discoveries come not from following established paths, but from daring to imagine new ones. And somewhere in the void behind them, an ancient guardian continued its duty, now enriched by the understanding that protection doesn't always mean preservation. Sometimes it means embracing change and growing into something new.